Kylie, you're good.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Talk the Talk, RTR-FM's weekly show about linguistics, the science of language. For the next hour, we're going to be bringing you language news, language philosophy, and some great music. Maybe we'll even hear from you. My name's Daniel Midgley. I'm here with Ben Ainsley.
Good morning.
And Kylie Sturgis.
G'day, everyone.
A report from a futurologist is claiming that a pet translation device is only 10 years away. Will we one day be having a casual chat with our puppers and kittens? Or could it be that there's nothing going on to translate? How plausible is a pet translator? We'll find out on this episode of Talk the Talk.
I don't want to know what animals are saying.
What do you think they might be saying?
Well, if it's a dog, they're just saying hi all the time.
Hi.
I love you. I love you. You're awesome.
Yeah,
Hi.
and if it's a cat, it's just the unending murder log of all of the things that it's killed.
I thought that a cat would be just like offering withering assessments of your personality and intelligence.
It's affording cats far too much smarts. Cats are really dumb.
What's-
They're really dumb. They are. You know it's true. For a person who is a skeptic, you anthropomorphize to a terrifying degree.
I think we just trained our cats really badly, so they think they're human and they behave as such as sitting on the couch and going, so, what's for dinner then? Are you going to bring me a plate? Where's my plate?
This is what I'm talking
Where's
about.
my plate?
Cats don't think that.
They
They sit
do
on the
too.
couch and they look at you and they go, food. Food.
I don't mean a request for food. I mean I'm
Food.
describing you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, ow.
Specifically
Don't
your
think about
ears.
that.
Listen, difficult
Oh.
food. Get me easy food. But before we go too far down the pet voice rabbit hole, shall we find out what's going on in the world of linguistics in the week gone past?
Yeah, there's something that happened last week that's got me pretty steamed, I gotta say.
Oh, something's rustled your jimmies.
There's lots of rustling going on.
Let's attempt to figure out the Jimmy Russell.
It's not going to take you a long time.
Okay.
In the USA,
That narrows it down quite quickly.
Uh-oh.
you have the right to be represented by a lawyer.
Yes.
But you can waive the right to a lawyer if you want to. That's
Yes.
fine.
Okay.
Well, a defendant in the state of Louisiana has lost an appeal before the state Supreme Court in which he claimed that he had asked for a lawyer, but he didn't get one, and the court ruled that his request was ambiguous.
Oh, ambiguity of language. We talk about this a fair bit on our Facebook page. Pro tip, check out our Facebook page. It's heaps of fun.
Yeah, here's what he said to an officer. And in the opinion of the officer and the court, this wasn't a request for a lawyer.
Okay.
See what you think.
Okay.
If y'all think I did it, I know that I didn't do it. So why don't you just give me a lawyer, dog? Because this is not what's up.
Oh, dear. Someone in the Louisiana judicial system needed to watch a bit more of The Wire.
Well, in the opinion of the court, when this defendant said, why don't you just give me a lawyer, dog? They thought that perhaps he was asking for a lawyer, dog.
Oh,
Yes, that's right.
I don't mean to laugh because, of course, this is in fact very tragically sad and represents a massive disenfranchisement of an entire group of people. But at the same time, good God.
By the way, this was an 8-1 decision.
Oh,
Yes, this was nearly unanimous. One of the state justices said, in my view, the defendant's ambiguous and equivocal reference to a lawyer dog does not constitute an invocation of counsel that warrants termination of the interview. That's right. They thought that they thought they could get away with claiming that they thought that he was asking for a lawyer dog with a tie and a briefcase.
So my thought here is this is a classic case of closing ranks, right? I reckon someone made a bonehead move, right, that they normally would have gotten away with, right, because the deck is so stacked against people of color and just generally poor human beings in general. But this particular bonehead move had the misfortune of seeing the light of day. I bet this happens all the time and we never hear about it, right? But this person was lucky enough to make enough noise that this got known, and then the justices and the judicial system was like, oh, yeah, but at the same time, you know, the cops are kind of my friends, so...
Kylie, your take?
I can't even find anything in me to laugh about this. I mean, I know it's like, oh, we can't, but yeah, there's just something in me that's just cold, dead, and disgusted.
This is all of the bad stuff about language. It's pedantry, it's obtuseness, it's like using tiny details of semantics to obscure pragmatics.
Not taking the effort to clarify things when it's clearly important subject matter
This is
about whether or not you're going to get represented in a court of law.
In-grouping, out-grouping,
Yeah.
Yes, that too.
othering.
This is sort of like the teacher who says, I don't know, can you go to the toilet? Except this is someone's rights on the line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this one cheesed me off massively.
Moving on.
People communicate and people sort of teach each other language, but this doesn't happen with exact copies. Sometimes there's a little bit of slop. Sometimes there's a little bit of drift.
Okay, sure.
And in fact, I like the language as evolution metaphor because, in biological evolution, you've got two things. You've got, mutation, and that makes...
The X-Men.
That's...
It makes the X-Men.
Yeah, why not?
Daniel is flummoxed.
That was a documentary comic book series, as far as I'm concerned.
we got to talk about
We
that
just-
sometimes.
You
So
just
no,
made Daniel
You're
lose
right.
it.
You've got random permutations of genetic material, right? Like you've got mutations.
And then they get selected for or selected against.
Right.
And over time, you can have things that are selected for, and that works. But then sometimes there's also things that just drift around. And I'm thinking eye color. Eyes still work even so, but there's a little bit of drift going on in the population.
Sure, nose shape, all that kind of stuff.
And biologists, have found ways of telling whether a feature really has been selected for. But what if we took those techniques and applied them to language? Do you think that language is going to be mostly selected for, or do you think it's mostly just drift?
Well, I'm trying to figure out in my head what selecting for in linguistic terms actually looks like.
Okay, that is the crucial question, because that is what a team involving Mitchell Newberry and a team from the University of Pennsylvania had to figure out. So let's put our heads together. How would we know if a certain, linguistic structure worked so well
That it was
people
like almost
chose it?
self-selected.
You just couldn't help it.
Well, okay, so I was actually looking at Australian phonology today on the
really?
Wikipedia article because I had marking to do and I will never be more good at finding other things to do than when I have marking to
So
do.
there.
Same here. I've
So
managed to find out all about German heiresses who escaped the country last night, and that was 3 essays, and German heiresses took over.
I was looking up carbon bonds.
So, in Australian phonology, right, we are a non-rhotic English dialect, but not consistently, right? Because when there is a vowel that follows a word that ends in R that we would normally drop the R off from, such as car, we put it back on, right? So car alarm, right? So we've got the R back in there, and it's normally a word that we don't say the R on. And so that, for me, seems like the kind of thing that we would probably select for, because if we were just dropping the R off all the things, we would hear car alarm,
And
right?
that
But
would
we don't say that.
And that would be more difficult to understand.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another possibility that the team settled on is regular or irregular verbs. Because
I'm going to put my hand up here just for 1 second as the absolute language noob and just plant my flag in the sand and say,
Okay.
I have no idea what the difference between a regular and an irregular verb is.
okay. Well, regular verbs in the past tense end in ed.
Okay.
Right? Like work and worked.
Okay.
But an irregular verb doesn't. It could be like teach and taught. We don't say teach.
Okay,
Right. Okay, so here's a bit of a quiz for you.
Oh, okay.
The word strive. If I say, I strive to do what's right, and I have always...
Striven.
Striven.
Okay, not strove?
Not strove and not
Strove.
strived.
No, not
Okay,
strive.
interestingly. I feel the same way. How about the verb dive? Yesterday, the swan.
Dove.
Dove.
Okay, more people in England are saying dived. That's
This
coming
one
up.
died.
Really?
It's regularizing.
Oh,
Here's regular.
I like that.
regularizing.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, cool. I remember that now.
How about sneak? Yesterday, I...
Snuck.
nearly said snook. But no, I snook in because that's the kind of thing I'd say to my cats.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I say,
Stop
"Oh,
snook in."
you snook in, didn't you? You snook in and
Mind
you
you,
snore it, didn't you?"
I could see myself saying sneaked soon.
Sneaked.
That seems like a thing that's
he
coming up.
sneaked in.
Now, it would make good evolutionary sense for things to regularize, to have lots of ed endings in the past tense. as well.
Now, can I pause there for a second, Daniel? Because you just said the phrase, it would make sense for. According to who?
Yeah, yes. Okay.
Right, so who makes the shoulds in this instance?
Right. I can see their case. Their case is it would be easier for everyone to remember what the verbs are if they had an ed ending, if they were all regular.
But there's nothing about English that seems to follow that rule.
Yeah, and we could take issue with that as well. Like, I think that irregular verbs hang in there because they're the most common ones. Like,
Are they?
like be and do and see and saw, right?
Yeah.
What else? Drink.
Read
Drink
and
drank.
read.
Eat and ate. Okay,
Yeah.
so they form the bulk of the data. So they don't get regularized. They're just
Okay.
themselves.
Yeah. They're
Pretty much
sticky.
the lyrics of Beatles songs. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, this team looked at patterns in English from over 100,000 texts from 1810 onwards, and they found that there doesn't seem to be a really strong selectional effect. Instead, the bulk of their data, they found that words just drift.
Oh, okay, so in terms of regularity or irregularity, that's mostly a drift situation.
Yeah, they looked at 36 really weird verbs like strive and dive and sneak and so on. And they found that for 6 of the 36 verbs, there was a tendency to regularize, and that seemed to be selected for. But the other 30 pretty much just drifted around. There wasn't any clear reason why they would be selected.
Is there any examples of stuff becoming less regular? That seems weird though, doesn't it?
It does seem
imagine,
weird.
Imagine I looked over there and then over time it turned into like I lewd over there. Like it doesn't make any sense at all. Like
no.
you just have to make up a completely weird fossil.
There isn't much evidence for that except in one case. And that is rare words. Words that are really common, like look, tend to settle down.
Right.
But words that are really uncommon, like I think strive is a little less common. You see a lot more variation in those words.
Right. Strove, striven, strivincular.
But look, I think you're absolutely right. They made some assumptions about how we would know if something was selected for, and they may make sense, but regularizing doesn't always mean selection. I mean, sometimes two words can be very similar, like strive and drive, right?
Yeah.
We say striven because we say driven, and that could be
That's a good
selected as
point,
well.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. But I take issue with the premise that selection necessarily results in
Is the null.
simplification, right?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't necessarily seem intuitive to me.
This is one of those where your results are about as good as your assumptions, and I think the assumptions could withstand some studying. But
Now that we're done assuming,
But this study is one way to apply techniques from biology to language, and it's yielding some interesting results.
time to assume what song we're going to listen to.
Okay,
Did you like that segue? That was smooth as silk.
it was, but now let's listen to The Selector with Too Much Pressure on RTR-FM 92.1.
This week on Talk the Talk, we are dipping our feet into the murky waters of pets. I've become more grumpy on pets as time has gone on.
That's interesting. I once belonged to a group called Husbands Against Pets, or HAP.
Husbands against
Really?
pets. Oh, yes,
Why?
I absolutely want to hear more about this.
Oh.
It was mostly just a friend and I who were grousing about how we didn't want any dogs or cats around.
Oh,
Yeah,
but your dog is the most gorgeous floofer
Is
on the
is
face of the planet.
is it?
It's so
Or is it a
lovely.
very unwell, mostly blind, completely deaf creature?
I think it's beautiful.
It's that too.
Oh.
I have definitely been finding myself, like my entire life, I have desperately, ferociously wanted a dog.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I am now in a position in my life where I could get a dog. And the last thing in this world that I want in my life is a bloody pet.
but how are you going to teach your child about death?
By having people die around him.
But that takes a long time.
That's going to take a lot more effort, dude.
How
I mean,
old- how
how
old are
many
your
holes are you
parents?
going to dig in the backyard? in order to-
With pets, you can cycle through really quickly, especially
Daniel-
some of the smaller ones.
Daniel, have you been killing pets for the sake of a lesson?
If that were the case, I wouldn't have a dog.
That is
Okay.
true.
Okay. So, I don't really care for pets much at all. Daniel has a pet, but he once was firmly in the camp of what an effort. But these days he has a floofer that he quite enjoys. And Kylie, I think we can pretty comfortably say is about one step away from being the lady who throws cats at people as weapons.
No, my husband is more likely to be the person because he's the one who
really?
encourages it. I'm perfectly happy with one cat, but yeah, now we seem to have 4. It's okay, we're in a good area.
Don't you claim for a second, Kylie, that you are not a pet fanatic?
No, well, I think because we moved around a lot when I was young, for me, a pet symbolises stability at home because you can't really travel with a pet that easily.
So we've got the 3 camps. We've got pretty staunchly against pets. We've got kind of in the middle, and we've got very, very pro pets.
Pet friendly.
So, just straight out of the gate, would we speed round? Yes or no? Would you like the capacity to translate the pet that you have? That's not speed. Speed.
No.
5, 4,
Yes.
Of course I would.
3. Okay.
I have to think about
I don't.
it, though.
I don't at all.
I think I'm a half and half between the two of you. I mean, you're a yes, you're a no, and I'm like a, well, maybe just a few things.
Bit of mystery.
I feel.
Well, just like if there's an emergency, like in terms of I really think I'm really unwell because cats are those
Right.
creatures that will hide, and I've lost cats this way. If they're poisoned or something, they will hide away because their immediate thing is to protect themselves, and then you have to go find them, and it's really awful. Or a dog who's like able to come up to you and say, "Yeah, dude, you might think it's my stomach, but seriously, it's my back leg, and that's why I'm lying down groaning. Can you please help me out with this in particular?"
Right.
That sort of thing would be
See,
useful.
I'm really on board with the Rick and Morty episode where they give the dog translator to the dog, but at the start of the episode, the person who creates the translator is like, I really don't think that's a thread you want to tug on, bro. Like, we keep pets around because they're stupid. Like, if pets were as smart as people, we wouldn't like having them as pets.
That's a good point.
And right, like that's my point exactly. I don't want to know what pets are saying. No way. That's why they're dumb animals. Like they're below us. That's why we keep them
What if they
around.
got really filthy manners, and talk about just naughty stuff all
That's
the time?
your biggest concern?
Well, it's one of them.
Oh, goodness.
What if my cat's
Damn.
just sitting there saying a naughty word over and over and over?
Wait, what if they just say gross things?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm manhandling this back on track.
Okay, please.
No, you're not, because now it's time to talk about Wittgenstein's lion, which we've talked about before. Remember this one?
Remind me.
Wittgenstein once said, if a lion could speak, we would not understand him. Let's
Yes.
think about that for a second.
Okay, so that's kind of the premise that I come at from this, because I think that humans anthropomorphize animals to a disturbing level, right?
Yes.
Like it actually, often when I see people getting really like chummy with their pets, I'm just kind of like, bleh. But for the most part, yeah, no, of course we wouldn't be able to understand what a dog says because a dog's conception of the universe is like smells, sights, things. Oh, look, water. Oh, I'm thirsty. Hungry. Oh,
Squirrel.
smells. Yeah, exactly, right? It's Doug.
They're just thinking and talking about dog stuff, and I don't understand dog stuff.
No way.
It's like a completely different culture.
I think
Lion
Wittgenstein
stuff.
was correct.
Lion stuff? What is that? So Amazon has released a report.
As in like Jeff Bezos Amazon.
That Amazon.
Right.
From futurologist William Hyam of The Next Big Thing. Now, he thinks that we can have a dog translator within 10 years.
Like on the hierarchy of things that are going to disrupt our world, surely this is not the top of the list.
Maybe as an experiment, it might be useful for a stepping stone towards other kinds of translators. Sure, maybe.
Well, okay.
But there's such a huge difference between us understanding animals and us understanding a completely different language. I guess this is where the Wittgenstein lion comes into it.
What parameters is this futurologist, futurismo, future magician? What parameters is he using for this statement? Like, what does his dog translator look like? Is he saying that in 10 years we're going to have a machine that is going to have like your spaniel going, I'm thinking ham tonight, guys. I'm thinking ham.
I'm not sure exactly to what extent he's thinking, but I can tell you that he did reference Dr. Kon Slobodchikov.
I don't.
He's famous with his work on prairie dogs.
Right.
You know, those little rodents?
They're so cute.
They're really cute, and they're really smart too. But he thinks that they actually have, seriously, a language. He says that prairie dogs can give different calls, like a wide variety of different calls, even to the point of describing people. He says, so a human walking through the prairie dog town with a blue shirt produces a call that is subtly different from the same human wearing a yellow shirt.
Blue shirt dude, blue shirt dude. Oh, no, next to him is yellow shirt dude. So we've got blue shirt dude and yellow shirt dude.
Or is he saying that it's going to be like, guys, Gary's wearing yellow today?
Which no animal ever does. No animal ever gives an opinion like that.
Well, okay, so yeah, this is my thing. This person who's talking about prairie dog language, and I put a massive set of quotation marks around prairie dog and language.
You don't have to quotate the prairie dog. They're just prairie dogs.
if that's what they really are.
To my knowledge, no one has confirmed Dr. Slobodchikov's findings.
Because we've done a lot of shows that are Animal X totally has a language, only for us to go, nah.
He also decided to make a new object for them that they'd never seen before. It was a black oval. And when they walked past, they made a call, a new sort of call. He thinks that that meant black oval.
Or it might have just been like, new thing.
Right. Or I'm scared. See, this is the
Yeah,
thing, right? The mind of the prairie dog or the spaniel or whatever is a black box, and so this is difficult for us to get into.
You can't really sit them down or strap them to a chair and go, okay, what's this? Neep.
So
what's
then
that?
what is
Neep,
what is what is future
neep. Sorry.
what is Futurismo Man? Why is he extrapolating this dude's stuff out to like magical animal translating machine?
Because if prairie dogs do have their own sort of language, if they are using calls to represent things in the real world, then maybe dogs and dolphins and other animals are doing it too.
So basically, if old mate is right, then surely we can use the science to make a translator. That's the basis of his claim.
That is the idea.
But what if this dude's wrong?
Then things look a lot less likely. And every claim that we've ever looked at doesn't seem to hold up when we're talking about animals having their own language or animals learning to use human languages.
Look, we've been talking about pets and their possible or not quite language for a while now. I think we need to take a breather. We need a track.
If you got opinion, and I'm certain you do, give us a call, 9260-9210.
Listen, pet fanatics, I want to read your comments on our Facebook page and point and laugh at you with your silly anthropomorphizing ways. So, jump on board our Facebook page. There's heaps of really cool language nerds there.
Or why not give us an email, talkthetalk@rtrfm.com.au. But for now, let's hear the Resin Dogs with Rock the Record on RTRFM 92.1.
This week on Talk the Talk, we are talking about whether animals are talking to us. There was a futurismo-ologist magician man from Amazon who was like, man, there's like totally going to be an animal translator in about 10 years.
You're giving him the dumb voice. Does that betray your attitude?
Maybe.
Okay.
And so we are digging in. We are digging into whether this is a thing. Are we looking at the start of the Planet of the Apes for dogs and cats?
There are some less extravagant claims. Let's just run through some of those.
Okay.
Honey guide birds. There are these
Were
birds.
these the Japanese ones?
No, they're in Mozambique.
Oh, okay.
Wait, you know more about this than I do.
Well, I know a little bit about this because of the honey badger. Honey badger don't give a damn.
Everybody's favourite memeable.
Yeah, and so you have some honey eaters who work with the honey badger
Right.
in order to get honey because the honey badger doesn't get stung. The only soft part on the honey badger's body is the nose if the bee gets there. So the honey bird comes to the badger and says, dude, or the equivalent, gets really excited, flaps around the honey badger's head, says, tries to lead it over to the tree. Honey badger gets it.
What's that, lassie? Timmy's stuck in the well, full of honey. I'm there.
Honey badger jumps in, rips open the tree, gets out the honey, takes as much as he wants, and of course there's lots left over, and so the bird gets some too. So we're talking
the bird
about
is basically like an art agent. It sources good work, brings the rich person along.
You got to see this Banksy. It's really good.
And then they just get a commission, basically like a honey commission.
That's what it is. And they have been enlisting the aid of humans. But here's the interesting things. Humans actually make a call to the honey guides when they want one to come over. And then the honey guide will guide the human to the honey.
Oh, that is, look, I'm not going to lie. That's a cool story.
Here's what it sounds like.
I want to try that.
Suddenly hundreds of honeybirds come flying into the studio.
Oh, God. Oh,
no! Everybody who's listening without headphones, oh no!
Quick, open the fridge and get out the honey jar. You'll be fine.
You could say, wait a minute, maybe this isn't really just a result of the human making that specific call. What if the human just said a random word?
Honeybird, want some honey?
Fishy, fishy, fishy,
Fishy,
fishy.
fishy, fishy.
Well, they tried it, and they found that when they make the brrr call, then the honeybirds are about 3 times as likely as getting a bird to help them find the honey.
And I assume they controlled for like just that being the learned thing potentially that honeybirds keyed into, right? Like they would have done enough of an experiment to obviate that and just kind of be like, oh, okay, all things being equal, no, it's definitely, they respond more to this call than other random stuff.
Well, hang on. If it turned out to be something arbitrary that the honeybirds just learned, then that would actually be a word.
Oh, right. I get you. True.
So, something to think about. There's this thing called an elephant translator. You can go to helloinelephant.com.
Oh, here I go. Hello in LA.
This tries to raise awareness of the plight of African elephants and to raise money for the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. You want to give it a try?
Here we go. The elephant language is endangered. Use it to save their species. Here we go. Speak elephant. Okay, hang on. I'll turn up my volume. You're listening to Talk the Talk.
Don't know if that's going to be in the lexicon.
Elephant wouldn't say that, but they might say, let's celebrate.
How about just something basic like hello?
Okay, here we go. I'm going to put in, I love you. I love.
I don't think elephants know love either.
How do you know? You've never been an elephant.
Yeah, that's true.
And if they did ever feel love, they would never forget that one elephant that they met on the Riviera.
What? What kind of relationships are you having?
Because they never forget.
They never forget.
Oh.
Maybe try it on your phone, Ben.
Okay. Hello. Sounded a lot like a lion.
If I heard that and that was a hello, I'd be like, oh, geez, I am so dead. And this poor elephant's going, why are you running? I just said, hey, hello.
Shall we try a new one?
Sure, try I love you.
Okay. I love you.
You got to admit that's kind of a low, seductive rumble.
Mm-hmm. That elephant is all about them loving, doving times. Well, that's cool. I like that. I have the suspicions.
Okay, what's your suspicion here?
I think that some very smart people have made a very cool thing that appeals to our tendency to anthropomorphize big, wonderful, smart creatures, and they've been like, here's some kind of maybe some vague evidence that suggests they're using the words, and then they've gone, hey, we can translate anything you want into elephant, and we all go, oh my god, I love them so much, have my money.
And nobody seems to mind when it's in the service of a good cause like helping the elephants.
Hell yeah,
right?
I got no beef with this at all. If people want to take advantage of our dumb tendency to be like, oh, the animals are using the languages so that we save those animals. Yeah, I'm on board.
But now let's take a look at an assumption that's in there, and that is, well, we're assuming
elephants know love, for one thing, at least as per our example.
And there's plenty of different elephants out there. Which elephants are we talking about?
Okay, 2 great things. Number one,
great things.
That elephants have concepts.
Yes.
Yep.
Similar to human concepts, massive anthropomorphizing. And the other, that different elephants will give the same calls for the same thing.
Then you're really genuinely asking for a shared, also abstract language, right?
I'm not going to say that this never happens. For example, the classic case of the vervets who make certain sounds when there's an eagle going on.
Right.
But even then, we still don't know. Are they trying to communicate that, or are they just feeling eagle fear and coming out with a sound? Like, for example, my dog, the aforementioned spaniel,
yes,
has certain sounds that I can reliably say are the I want to go out sound, or the angry you're going out for a walk and you're not taking me bark, right? Classic. And I you can play those for me and I will be able to tell you the situation isolatedly.
Sure.
But for a different dog.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I don't know if that dog is intended to communicate, I am angry, using a conventional symbol like humans do. The dog might just be saying, I am feeling an emotional state. And when I feel that emotional state, this sound comes out.
Well, and my follow-up question to that is, every example we've just trotted out is entirely situationally dependent, right? Can we get your spaniel to make the "I'm angry, you're going for a walk without me" sound when you're not going for a walk without it?
No.
And that's where I start to find the whole thing kind of stands on fairly shaky ground.
And that's one thing that's really different about human language is we have something called displacement. We can talk about things when they're absent. So if there's chocolate, I can talk about chocolate. But if there's no chocolate, I can still talk about chocolate.
One of the greatest keys to humanity. Chocolate even when there is no chocolate.
I'm trying to imagine you speaking to your dog saying, "Why are you sulking? Come on, why are you sulking?" He says, "Oh, well, you didn't take me out for a walk and left me behind yesterday."
Yeah.
And I've still
exactly.
heard about it.
It doesn't happen. So, how plausible is this translation thing? We found a few strikes against it, right?
We found strikes against it, and I think we also haven't come up with a compelling reason why it should exist either.
Well, let's talk about the strikes first.
Okay.
The strikes are language might vary between animals.
Between animals of the same species, let alone different species.
Yeah.
We have not found compelling evidence that animals are doing the language.
Fair enough. But remember, this isn't the same as the debate on whether animals have language.
No.
This is, do they make calls that are reliably translatable?
But if that's the case, we don't need a translation device.
Aha. Okay. So that's the main problem, right?
You don't need a translation device for your dog. You know when it's pissed off at you that you're not taking it for a walk.
So this translator, I think, is plausible for simple calls and requests and things, but you'll probably be able to work those out anyway.
Yep.
But if we're talking about having long and deep conversations, I just don't think it works like that.
Okay, so I'm still grumpy about animals broadly, and I think an animal translation device at very, very best, is going to be one of those direct style gimmicks that sad old people buy because they have an abundance of money and not enough human connection in their lives.
And if you buy two, we'll throw in these extra pair of steak knives. Call us now.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to know more about animals and how they communicate, but then if I really wanted to know, I'd probably be a vet. Because they're the people who have to really know that kind of,
Do you reckon
definite signals and things like that.
I'd say veterinary nurses are probably the best versed at that.
I think that this is a plausible sort of project. I think it is possible to do, but only if you don't have to train every single animal. I mean, my voice sounds different from your voice, but automatic voice recognition can account for that. But do all dogs really make the same sound for "let me out"
Yeah.
and "I'm hungry"?
No. I doubt
No,
it.
I
no,
can't
I've been
imagine
around
it.
enough dogs, both farm pets and household pets, very different noises.
Okay, well, then either it doesn't work or you're in for a lot of training on each individual animal.
It sounds boring.
Kinda.
Like, pets already sound boring. That sounds even more boring. It sounds like the cricket of animals.
More boring than pets. So the animal translator, plausible?
Yeah, plausible, but so what?
Well, I think we should probably take a track.
Okay.
Let's hear Thundercat with "Show You the Way" on RTR FM 92.1.
And as the sea of pulsing hands rises and falls, 3 people emerge from the haze. Stage lights strobing off their glistening, beautiful bodies, and slowly a hush descends upon the crowd as they wait expectantly.
That was
For-
so.
You
not what
ruined it! I
like
wasn't
at
done!
Dukes.
God!
I'm trying to imagine. No, that wasn't what it was like at Dukes. No, there's a little stage.
I can't believe you. Well, we're done now,
bodies-
I suppose. What segment are we in? Nobody knows because no one heard what I was about to say.
Can we just wind it back a bit and try to find our way back?
And then some pillock from the crowd chimes in before, like, ruining the huge built-up moment that the 3 people on the stage, which is Ben, Kylie, and Daniel, were about to do in this cool unison showmanship kind of way. And someone in the crowd's like, "Oh my God, it's Word of the Week!" And everyone's like, "Boo!" But anyway, it's Word of the Week.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
crying here. Oh, dear.
You're glistening.
Oh, dear.
With the tears of the funnies. But it is Word of the Week, where we look at a fresh emergence in the world of linguistics.
The news this week was the indictments coming down against certain members of the Trump campaign.
Poo, poo, poo. Political word. Political word.
I didn't really have much on this one, except that I did notice that once again, the word indict has a C in it.
Indictment.
Why in the world does indict have a C?
That's a good question.
Is it related to the word indicative?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Nice try.
Mm.
Well,
Spell it for those who... Not me, Daniel, of course, because I'm really smart and I totally know how the word is spelled.
I just picked up a pen and wrote it down, looking at it to think, no, it does. Oh, yes, it does, doesn't it?
Daniel, could you spell indictment for the audience and also Benezi?
INDICT. Didn't used to be spelled that way.
Indictment.
Used to be INDITE. Indict.
Well, then, what? When did the C come in?
Well, it came in because there were some people who thought that Latin was the greatest language in the world in the 1700s. And they thought, we really should...
Goddamn classicists.
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 We really should stick a C in there so that everyone will remember that it has its etymological roots in Latin dicere, to say.
Oh, God. That's just dumb.
And the same people gave us the S in island to help us remember Latin insula, and the B in doubt and debt, helping us remember the Latin dubitum and debitum. Thanks a lot, jerks.
Yeah, tell me about it. Really puts me in the mind of Blackadder when he goes back and punches Shakespeare and he's like, that's for every school child for the next 400 years. 100% dick move.
But I want to focus on a different word. We're going to leave Trump world for a while and let those indictments simmer. I want to focus on a word that caught my attention when I was at the supermarket.
At the shops, as we would say in Australia.
At the shops. There was an ad from... I'm going to mention the ad because this is kind of important. It's from Heinz.
Mm-hmm.
What have you got there? We're looking at it now, Ben.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. The thing that really jumps out at me in this ad is the subtitle, Thicker is Tastier, which I see 100% independently of anything else that's going on. I don't know what that says about me or where my attention tends to drift, but that is definitely the leading item despite being smaller, less bright.
Ben, could you please hand the phone back to Kylie and she can describe this ad?
Okay, sorry.
What we have here is an advertisement for Heinz, and they raise the question, sauce or ketchup. Now, is it ketchup or how do you say it in America?
In the classic
Ketchup?
Mr. Burns conundrum, ketchup, ketchup, ketchup,
Ketchup.
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 I say ketchup myself. I do not say ketchup or even
Ketchup.
cat soup. But check out the ad. It's got the words sauce and ketchup written in sauce and in
Yes, it's
ketchup.
all drippy, and ketchup or whatever it is in a nice solid, dark red font.
Yeah.
It's not dripping anywhere.
The tomato sauce is really drippy. The ketchup is nice and solid. So
And then we get to the juicy subtitle, which says...
Thicker is tastier.
tastier. So this marks the first time that I'm aware of that an advertiser has tried to contrast tomato sauce and ketchup. Because, I mean, Heinz made both for a really long time.
I'm 100% learning for the first time in my life that there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, see?
I mean, are we going to be getting rid of sauce and having this thicker stuff? And how much thicker? Confused, terrified.
so
Hold me.
ketchup wasn't always the big boss of the condiment world.
Of the table accoutrement.
It used to be that it was, coming from about the 1800s, used to be kind of a mushroomy fish sauce. And in fact, that's
Like,
where...
are you thinking more of like a Worcestershire?
That's what I was thinking.
No, I'm secretly not, because in England you can still get mushroom ketchup. It's this brown, goopy stuff.
That sounds revolting.
That sounds like the worst.
That's just not...
The mushroom stuff is revolting, but at least it's true to the etymological origins. It used to be that it was kind of a sauce made of fish and mushrooms and maybe some walnuts in there. It originally comes from the Chinese or the Malay.
Okay, so the sauce itself, actually, we brought over from the East.
And we borrowed the word for it, ketchup. But then tomatoes started coming in. Sailors threw tomatoes into the mix, and they just gradually displaced everything else.
Because they're far tastier.
Oh, much.
No, mushrooms, yummy.
Okay.
No, okay, Kylie, you say this now. I think we need to get a bottle of this revolting sounding mushroom like fish nonsense and see if you actually like it, because it does
We'll do
not
it as a
sound
giveaway
good.
on the
Oh,
next
man.
Radiothon, yeah.
British listeners, if you want to send us a bottle, just get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're curious.
the sailors threw a bunch of tomatoes in there, and then that sort of proportion of tomatoes just took over until we had ketchup as the tomato-y condiment that we know and love.
But here in Australia, we were still calling that kind of sauce tomato sauce or tomato sauce. Now, something started happening. Heinz, the company, made tomato sauce, but then they also started bringing in ketchup. And I can remember a time when you saw both on the supermarket shelves.
Really?
Then in 2010, they did something new. They started advertising ketchup. And people in Australia freaked out.
Cultural, like, blur, the tide of cultural, we're being swamped by Americanana and all that kind of stuff.
Dick Smith.
Of
How would you
course.
describe Dick Smith?
Dick Smith is like he's like the Warren Buffett of Australia, but really hyper Australian and quite nationalistic, but not necessarily in a overtly gross way. Like he's just like, Australia matters and the things that we have matter, and I'm really rich, but I'm still Australian and I'm going to do things.
I've got some terrible news for you. He has actually gone
He has
to the
gone off
dark
the deep
side.
end.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
we don't want these, let's keep it for the Aussies. Like, dude,
okay.
you're whiter than me.
Dick Smith described this move, advertising ketchup on television, as disrespectful to Australian culture.
Meh.
And
But it's from Malaysia. What?
and it was, he said, they don't give a stuff about Australian culture or our way of life.
Oh, well, it's a good thing we don't disrespect Australian culture in any other ways, like, I don't know, keeping children in detention.
Or leaving people alone on an island or something like that.
Yeah.
So now they are pitting ketchup against tomato sauce. And I wonder what effect this is going to have on the language. Will it all be ketchup in 30, 40, 50 years?
I think no.
I think not either.
I think no, because I think there is a resurgent recalcitrance in Australians as we sort of culturally seem to be digging our heels in, and more so than ever before, kind of being like, no, we matter.
Again.
Like we're a thing.
And in the slogan that they've got there, upgrade to this. So the implication is that you don't want sauce, you want ketchup.
So I think that maybe by Heinz contrasting tomato sauce with ketchup, I think they're actually building a wall and actually preserving the meaning of both those words.
I think they are, and in fact, I don't want to be too much of a wanky foodie here, but I make a very delicious tomato sauce myself.
Do you really?
I do.
Oh, cool. And shout out to Dave Mullins, who came up with the joke of, we need to catch up with the rest of the world. Ha ha, Dave.
I noticed that on the Twitter thread where I posted this, there's @IndianLinguist who says a significant shift in Indian English, British tomato sauce now seen as an Indianism, and American ketchup as authentic English.
Interesting.
So this is a multi-country thing. I think ketchup has pretty much sealed the deal in the States, but it's still in a bit of flux in English-speaking countries elsewhere.
How to know if you're in a Commonwealth country? See if there's tomato sauce on the table.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. So once again, Midgley's dictum, any variation, if it isn't already a marker of social difference, will be picked up and used for that purpose.
It's either used for social difference or it's waiting to be used for social difference.
So our word of the week, ketchup.
Or tomato sauce.
I'll take both.
Okay.
Just make sure you clean up after yourselves, guys.
Tomato sauce for burgers, ketchup for fries.
Now that is a change I can believe in. Because it clings.
Only like hashtag whitest of people problems. I just don't have a tomato sauce that works for both situations.
This tomato sauce isn't clingy enough. Well, you know, Ben, thicker is tastier.
Oh, I definitely know that. Alrighty, well, on that weirdly suggestive note, shall we take a track?
Yes, please. Let's listen to Dennis Cometti with On the Sauce on RTR-FM 92.1.
Kylie and I need to get out of here, but if you have burning thoughts about pets or sauces, then you can drop us a line.
Please don't combine the two.
I'm okay with that. I don't like pets. Talk the talk at rtrfm.com.au is how you can email us.
You can give us a call on 9260-9210.
Or you can get us on Facebook or Twitter at TalkRTR. You're here in the closing minutes of Talk the Talk with Daniel, and we've got some comments. Tim emailed studio@rtrfm.com.au. Says, born and bred English person, I've never heard of mushroom ketchup. Well, Andy phoned up and said, the thing about mushroom ketchup is you don't actually use it as a condiment with your chips or with burgers or anything. Instead, what you do is you sort of put it in sauces when you're making stuff. Says he uses it all the time. You can actually get it here in Perth, if you want to, at Asian grocery stores, mushroom ketchup. It is a thing. Elspeth also emailed and says, ketchup means sauce in Indonesian. Kecap manis is a sweet soy sauce, but loads of people I've met have called it kecap instead of ketchup. I had a question. Do people actually say catsup, or is that some joke? I think it's a bit of a joke for me. I don't say catsup seriously, although I think I might have met some people. Maybe this is worth checking on youglish.com. Just type in catsup and see how people actually say it in YouTube videos. That's youglish.com. Didn't get the chance to try myself. Sorry about that, but maybe I'll post some things later. Do you want to hear what your dogs or cats say? Suzanne says, I'm okay with just guessing how contemptful my cat is. Contemptuous. That's the word I meant. Hashtag words are hard. Yeah, you got to watch your words around the cats, Suzanne. Erica says, I'm pretty sure my dog's internal monologue is just food, food, food. Alex says, can we please start with the Drump translator, or is he beneath the rank of pets? Victoria, when are our pets going to get a human translator, though? I just want to be able to tell my dog to stop eating paper, because that's what makes your tummy hurt. And Amy says, my family gave our cat a personality and would voice what we thought she was saying. She had an accent and all. I hope this isn't a totally weird thing. I'm not sure I'd like to really know what she is thinking, though. Oh, man. I totally do that with my dog. I'm always giving my dog the dumb voice. Hey, guys, I want to go out. Are we going for a walk? I can't believe you didn't take me to a place. I think it's a little bit like the Bill Murray voice from Caddyshack. But yes, my take is that it wouldn't be worth having a translator because everything that's in their brain, they can already communicate. They do a great job of communicating everything that they need to. Well, I think that we are just about out of time for this episode of Talk the Talk. I would just like to thank everybody who has taken the time to send us comments or to engage. We really enjoy hearing what you have to say. And of course, let's keep this conversation going. We'll be on the Facebook page, and you should keep listening to RTR-FM because Mark Neal is going to be taking us out to lunch very, very shortly with all the new music. We'll be back with another episode this very next week. Until then, keep talking.
This has been an RTR-FM podcast. RTR-FM is an independent community radio station that relies on listeners for financial support. You can subscribe online at rtrfm.com.au/subscribe.
Our theme song is by R Trees, and you can check out their music on rtrees.com and everywhere good music is sold.
We're on Twitter at TalkRTR. Send us an email, talkthetalk@rtrfm.com.au. And if you'd like to get lots of extra linguistic goodies, then like us on Facebook or check out our Patreon page. You can always find out whatever we're up to by heading to talkthetalkpodcast.com.